We're live.
Okay, good evening to all of the Smart Driving members and trainees from Smart Driving Drive School, Blink and Drive, who are on the webinar this evening. Now, some of you have probably never met us three, so what I'll do just very briefly before we get into talking to David about the 4 pillars of running a driving school business. I'll just introduce everybody. So first of all, I'm Adam Bragg. I'm marketing and advertising sales director for Smart Driving in the Watch Learn Drive group. My background is in marketing and sales, having worked with Red and the Instructor College and Let's Drive over the years. John is my fellow director at Smart Driving and the Watch Learn Drive group. John, if you just want to quickly introduce yourself, perhaps what you've done and who you are.
Oh goodness, who am I? Well,
sometimes only yourself.
I've got it written down somewhere. Wait a minute. Any students, any ADIs that are listening will probably know who I am fairly well. Any students might not know quite so much about me. For Smart Driving Drive School and other students who might be attending this evening, I've written most of the stuff and are currently rewriting a lot of the stuff that you're studying, rewriting to fit with the new exams and with our new system that we'll be launching soon. Where have I been? Where am I from? Well, I've been around for about getting on for 40 years now in the industry and done various, produced stuff for AA, for different driving schools, director at LDC. But my biggest baby is Smart Driving, really, which I founded, how long ago? About 1998, 2000, something like that. But the legacy of Smart Driving goes way back before then, though, with my previous businesses, which were effectively renamed and remodeled as Smart Driving. So Smart Driving really goes back 40 years in real terms.
So some of our trainees will have seen us in the videos and spoken to us, perhaps. So hi, nice to speak to you. And we want to introduce to you David Pupil. Now many of you on this webinar will never have met David. I know there's some ADIs and some on this seminar tonight, so you'll know all about David. I've known David for 7-8 years. Would it be, David, when we first met in Wembley?
Yeah, it's got to be that sort of time, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Before I moved to France, and I moved to France in 2011. In fact, it definitely was before I moved over here. So.
Before then, so it would be getting on for over 8 years. I met David when we were looking to work together on a project for Smart Driving. And David has been involved in our industry. He's a marketing person by default, by trade, but he got into this industry a long time ago and has been involved in a number of companies that offer services to driving instructors. But for me, David is known as a driving school marketing guru, someone who has offered advice on selling your driving school, on building websites. And a lot of what David believes in is very similar to what I believe in, what I've been trained to do and what I've worked on. And some of the things that David will talk about tonight have been proven. We've built Smart Driving, John, myself and our fellow director Graham, from literally nothing in a period of about 8 years to a multi-million-pound business. And many of the techniques and things that we have used, David is going to discuss with you tonight that can work on a grand scale, industrial scale like ours, all the way down to what we would in the industry call a one-man band scale. So, David, I've got a few questions I want to talk to you about.
Okay.
I've heard you talk about the 4 pillars of a driving school before, and this webinar is called the 4 pillars of a driving school. So, what are the 4 pillars?
Well, I'll bullet point it and I'll explain it, how it came about and why I did this. And the way I bullet point this is in the order that I see how it works. So the first pillar is marketing. You've got to get out there. People have got to see who you are, The second bullet point to this, or the second pillar rather, is sales. The phone rings or somebody engages you through email, through Facebook, you've got to be able to convert. Then, of course, you get that person in the car, you've booked them in the car, you've then got the skills of the driving instructor that take over. And the fourth and final pillar is pupil management or diary management. Could you extend the pillars? Yes, you could. Let's say franchise management or what have you not. But I wanted to create a tool that any ADI or PDI can use to assess their own business. So a lot of ADI said to me, David, how do I know if I'm good at something? How do I know if I'm not good at anything? And, how can I predict how I want to take my business in the future? And if any of you tap into reading business journals and things like that, there's lots of tools out there. One of the most common tools is a SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Grid format. And I sat down and I thought, right, okay, what makes a driving school work? And so I came up with these 4 pillars: marketing, sales, skills of the ADI, and diary management. And if any driving instructor takes a sheet of A4 paper and sits down and just writes those bullet points down and just goes through, okay, what am I good at in those areas? And where maybe could I improve upon? Because beforehand, without that tool, without seeing that, it's a bit putting your finger in the air going, okay, so I'm good at this, but I'm good at that. So what this does, it helps you bring everything together. And it's worked well for me when I've been speaking with driving instructors. I mean, I don't deal with the technical side of things, as you know, I deal with the sales, marketing, business development side. But when I'm speaking with the driving instructor and they phone me up and say, David, I need help for whatever it is, maybe they're struggling or maybe they just want to get to that next level, I always refer back to this. It's simple for me to use, but it's simple for anybody to understand as well at the same time. And you can always revert back to it.
I think one of the things I want to kind of mention to the people in attendance tonight is that regardless of whether you are going to work with a driving school when you finish your training, or whether you work with a driving school, or whether you're going to run your own business, a lot of these principles are still very important. You need to be aware of who you are in the industry. Where do you sit? Where do you fit in the industry? Without knowing that, how are you ever going to get to where you want to be in the industry? So where did it come from, David? Where did this 4 pillars idea? You mentioned about sitting down with a piece of paper. From your marketing background, what sort of skills and techniques have you brought in to help you make these 4 pillars?
Well, really, a lot of people are asking me for marketing ideas. Oh, David, can I have a marketing idea? And I'll share an idea with them. And they'll go, well, can I have another? And can I have another?
Yeah. One little snippet at a time, yeah.
And I realised actually what they were looking for, they were asking for medicine, and what they really needed was analysis. They're asking for paracetamol for their headache, but they weren't asking, why am I getting that headache in the first place? So that's what I thought, right, okay, how can I present them something so they can do some self-analysis on their business? And where you say, and quite rightly say, where do you sit within the industry? You're dead right. I completely agree with you. For me, as I run my own business, like you're a director of your business, I always look at myself and I feel that I am the managing director of my company. And I have roles and responsibilities. Every driving instructor, whether they're in a franchise or not, they're all self-employed. So they're a managing director of their own business, so to speak. And what a good managing director will do is they'll look at their own skills, work out where best to use them, work out where they want to work in the business, work on the business, and work out where to outsource. And outsourcing is what we see quite commonly in our industry, is through a driving instructor franchise. And lots of ADIs, they will go out to a driving instructor franchise, no problem with that, but they'll do it for the wrong reason. And that reason is the fact that they haven't realised why they are going to go to a driving school franchise and haven't matched up with what the franchise offers, what they actually need. If you come back to the 4 pillars of the driving school and you go, right, okay, here are my strengths. And not only these are my strengths, but this is what I want to do within my business. I might be good at something else, but I don't like doing it, so I want to outsource that. And for me, as you go through the 4 pillars, you can work out the things that you're good at, you like doing, and you want to do, and the things where you're not so good at, and either you need to improve on, auto outsource. And for me, that's where a franchise comes in, you know.
Yeah.
I think most people will join a franchise just to get pupils. But actually, and I also think that not all driving instructors work with their franchise in the most conducive way, because there's lots of really good franchises out there that want to work with you, but an instructor will say, just give me pupils. And the franchise is trying to say, we're more than that. And I don't think many instructors capitalise upon the experience and expertise within that franchise. So this is where the 4 pillars can come in, and they can look at that, and then they can share. They can share that with their franchise if they wanted to.
There's also
independent.
There's something I want to come in for a second there. There's something very fundamental, particularly for the students who are listening this evening, to recognise, and perhaps a little bit frightening for some students as well, is the fact that we keep using the term business. Now, a lot of driving instructors never seem to recognise that they're running a business. That one-man schools or one-lady schools, it's almost as if they're going out meeting a bunch of friends every day, and they don't recognise that they're doing something that needs a little bit of management, that needs data tracking and stuff like this. The important thing to recognise, first and foremost, is that whether you're on a franchise or whether you're working for yourself, you are running a business. The second thing to recognise is, hey, it's actually quite easy to do when you follow some of the simple rules, some of the things, for example, that you're talking about this evening, David. And I think that was just worth mentioning as a very fundamental point.
You're absolutely right. A lot of people don't like broaching the idea of that this is a business because of that fear factor. They've not done it before, maybe they've not had the support before. And if you are watching this as a new ADI, or even maybe an experienced ADI, you're not really seeing it as a business yet, embrace it. Because a business is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing. The biggest selling point for me, once you recognise as a business, is the opportunities that it can bring for you and your family. I love my job, what I've created. I really do love what I do in terms of the ins and outs, working with you tonight. But the best thing about it is what I can bring to my family. And I've got that opportunity. I think a lot of ADIs, what they're doing is they're looking for a job, they go to a franchise and they look for a job where they just work by themselves in the car and somebody supplies them with pupils and they get paid. And for me, if you want to do that, fine. But I think the people that do that tend to hit more problems. They tend to hit more pricing problems. They tend to get more cancellations. They don't last as long within the industry. They fall out of love with it because they're not embracing what a business should be. And the business is a beautiful, beautiful thing.
I think one of the comments I'd like to make, I've always been an advocate of trying to remove words like franchise and business and sales and marketing from our industry. But I think one of the things we're going to have to reinforce tonight is that whilst the good instructors who sometimes don't know they're good, if you can teach them to analyse why they're good, what they'll realise is they're good at marketing, they're good at sales, they're good at running a business. And I think one of the things that even if you're in a franchise is very important to recognise is that you will still be selling. You'll be selling yourself.
Right.
And the sooner you realise that when you're in the car with the pupil and you're talking to a pupil and you're helping to manage the lessons, what you're actually doing is selling your product. You're selling you. So part of what I hope to hear from you tonight, David, when we're talking about marketing and sales is just some snippets of advice for our trainees to help them, and yourself, John, of course, when we talk about diary management and pupil retention, is to help them identify the simple techniques and the simple skills that they will use to make them be better at retaining pupils, make them better at selling themselves and selling the product. And don't be afraid, perhaps, to think of themselves as a business person. And I think you're very right, David. Too many instructors who end up working in a franchise do just want a job. And perhaps sometimes don't recognise that when the school gives them the pupil, there is still a bit of work to do.
I agree.
Yeah. What we've touched on the idea of the 4 pillars and a SWOT or pest analysis, and we've kind of briefly talked about why it's important in business. Why, for a driving instructor, it's important to sit and think about where you are and who you are, and maybe as a SWOT or maybe as a pest analysis.
Why is it important? Well, let's put it into monetary terms. I think it can be a £10,000 to £15,000 a year difference between thinking about it and not thinking about it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just throw some figures up. And I'm not being antagonistic to different driving schools, but the figures that I'm going to share with you, we would have all have seen these. So there are some franchises out there, and it doesn't even have to be a franchise, but there could be a franchise, and it does exist, where you're paying £99 a week. And then, and on top of that, you're then asked to do a special promotion of 10 hours for £99. So let's say you have one new pupil a week, which is quite a lot, but let's say you have one new pupil a week, and let's say that your general lesson price should be £27 an hour. Every time you're taking on a special promotion person, you're losing out 170 quid on the first 10 hours. So let's say your lesson price is £27 an hour, but you're doing 10 for 99. The difference is £17 an hour. Multiply that by 10, you're £170 down on your RRP. Plus, you're paying a franchise fee. Now, there are a couple of companies. There's one very well-known company that still does that right now. The reason why I mention it is because lots of ADIs, they go, oh, right, okay, I'm really excited. I can't wait to start teaching. I want to teach. I want to get behind the wheel. I want to have a full diary. I want to be out. They want to be proud, and they want to be proud of themselves. They want their family to be proud of them, because quite often they've made quite a difficult decision to leave a regular 9-to-5 job to go and do this, and people will be doubting within their family, are you good? Can you do this? So there are, there are family pressures. So they go out and they join a franchise, go, yeah, you can get your pupils, bang. And they haven't really sat down and thought about their own skills, their own abilities, and they join this franchise, and they think, actually, every time I bring on a new pupil, that's costing me 170 quid in lost revenue. 2 pupils a month is 340 quid. You multiply that by 12, that's £5,000. And that's just an instant £5,000 gone in lost revenue. You haven't thought about your own skill set and your own skill base. And how many people who are doing ADI training right now, you want to become a driving instructor, how many people are actually getting involved with small business courses, whether it's a sales course, a marketing course, or even an accounts course? Most don't. Most people, what they'll do, they'll phone a driving instructor training company up, and they'll say, can you train me to be a driving instructor? They pick somebody they want to go with, they pass the part 1, 2, and 3, and boom, they're on their own. Then what? So for me, it's really important to sit down and just look at yourself and go, what skills have I got in the past? And be serious, Don't go, oh yeah, I can do this, I can do that. Don't big yourself up, because the only person you can lie to and lose out to here is yourself. Be honest with yourself. What skills have I got? What skills do I need? Go out there and ask, what skills do I need to run a driving school business? And look at the bit in between, the stuff that you don't have. And that could mean you going out to WH Smith's and spending a tenner on a book on 1-minute marketing or something like that. Because it's not just the ideas that are in these books, it's about thinking about business, about understanding yourself. Because the more you understand yourself, and the more you understand where your business needs to be, you can see the no man's land in between. And it's that no man's land right now in the first 6 months, 2 years of qualifying that makes or break an ADI. And how many ADIs have we seen that qualify today and they're not around in 6 months' time because they've just done the wrong thing, or they've not listened to themselves, and they've not self-appraised, and they've not gone and asked people like yourself and John Adam for their opinion, for your opinion on their business. So please look at yourself critically.
There is another slightly insidious point that's hidden, David, from what you mentioned. Now, there's nothing wrong with working on franchises, and franchises suit some people very, very well. But for other people, particularly when you talk about the fact that you're only going to be grossing £17 for some lessons, for example, you take on some new pupils, you're giving a special discount. when those lessons happen at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock at night, after a long day, you can start to get to a point where you're asking yourself, oh, I can't, I'm doing this for next to nothing. I feel like I'm working for nothing. I feel like I'm going out for nothing. And you can lose sight of the big picture. And that can start to be a demotivator. And not only is it a demotivator for you, but the effort that you put into that lesson can then be less. And so that person, particularly if they have that lesson at a regular time every week, is less likely to recommend their friends to you, and so on. So all of these things you do need to be aware of. They are very important.
I mean, we're not even really talking about sales or marketing at the moment. We're talking about self-worth.
Yes.
And I was talking to a rather large franchise in Adam's sort of area recently, and I was just running some calculations. And I know what the average lesson price is up there. I know their offers. And I said to one of their directors, I said, do you realise that your ADIs here are not earning much more than minimum wage? Now, it is up to the driving instructor to make that decision whether they want to join that organisation or not. And I'm not having a pop at that organisation. What I am, but there's something really clear here is, if you run a business, which you all do, look at your overheads, look at your profits. What is your hourly rate? I mean, I think minimum wage is what, $7.50 an hour or something like that?
In the region, yeah.
You know, you've just spent the best part of $3-4 grand or whatever it is to train to be an ADI. And you might be thinking, I've not spent $4 grand. And actually, when you look at your training for an ADI, yeah, you can pass it $2.5 grand or $2 grand or whatever, you know, but actually the real cost of training is a lot higher because you have to put all the time in. And, you know, there's the effort away from your family as well. That resource is a lot more. So why do you spend 5, 6, 7, 8 grand on training? Because that's the figure on how I see it. To then work in such a way, whether it's with a franchise or by yourself, where you could be earning the same price flipping burgers in McDonald's. So I'll always say to people, if you're going to have a business, work out how to charge the top price. And you mentioned, both of you, something earlier on that's really important, to charge the top price, and that's to be on top of the service that you offer. Be the master of your service. Deliver a great service.
Because David, a lot of instructors who are new to the industry will choose to work with a franchise.
Yeah.
And invariably, we work with a lot of franchises very closely, and we see some fantastic success stories of people that work with the franchise, perhaps stay there for a year, 18 months, get good at their job, good at running it, and move on. And I think it's important, if you're making those comments, that you know, what you don't want to be doing as an instructor is getting into the trap of having to cut costs to compete.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very important when we're addressing the marketing and the sales part of this discussion of those 4 pillars, that and indeed when we get onto the other 2 pillars later, that you identify how will you be the best in your area.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to spend the best part of £200, £150, £200 a week, you want to make sure when that pupil comes to you that you know how to look after them and nurture them, and then use them to build your diary and build your pupil base. So it's very important that we cover today, I think, that how we can help instructors to charge what they're worth and what they need to earn.
Well, a good step up to that is just going back to the franchise. There are some excellent success stories, some fantastic success stories, and all those success stories have got one thing in common. It's where the ADI accepts the buck stops with them and not with the driving school, and that the ADI is in open communication with the driving school, saying, how can I improve? What can I do next? How can I be better? And really tapping into that and not just pumping them for pupils. And when you go, and if you want to go and join a franchise, go to that franchise, sit down with them, have a cup of coffee with them, and ask that franchise, not what can you do for me, but how can we work together and how can you improve me, my business? Ask them that question, and the answers they'll give you will tell you whether they're the right people to work with or not.
Because remember, a franchise can only make money when they've got ADIs in their driving school.
Absolutely.
And because there isn't the number of ADIs coming through the process anymore, like there were 10 years ago, driving schools are making a genuine concerted effort. We have regular meetings, John, don't we, with all of the major schools. And their attitude the industry these days is very much about how can we make it better? How can we encourage you as an instructor to embrace people like yourself, David, to embrace people like ourselves and add value to what we're doing?
Okay.
Fundamentally, you use the brand of the driving school as one of your marketing tools, and you build on it with your own marketing and sales and your own skills.
And there is a lot of talk out there, especially on Facebook and in the test centres, and where people will say, never go with, let's say, red, for example. And for me, I would say to you, don't listen to them, because their experience was personal to them, and you are going to bring something completely different to the table. You're bringing the way that you look at life, your skills, your expertise, your knowledge, the way that you deal with people. So the way that John would deal with a company, John would get different results to me and to Adam, because he's a different person. So when people say, don't go to red because they do this, that, and the other, it's only personal to that person, you know? Go and speak to them and ask them the question, what can you do for me? How can we work together? How can you help me improve? But only go to that stage once you've worked out your strengths and the areas, I don't like using weaknesses, but the areas where you really need to improve on and where you'd like to outsource. And then you'll start to find the right people in the business. And it doesn't just have to be a franchise. It could be somebody like me, or maybe it could be somebody to pick the phone up for you because you recognise that you've got an area for development in terms of sales, because you don't like sales, you're not good at it, or you can't pick the phone up because you're driving.
David, you've mentioned there, you started to touch on sales, and it seems like I sense this is moving on a little bit. I'm aware that some students listening, particularly students, and maybe some ADIs listening, strangely enough, will not have a clear understanding about sales and marketing as two separate issues. Aren't they all one and the same thing?
Yeah.
Isn't it all mixed together in a big pot?
Yeah, not only can you mix it into a big pot, you can stick estate agents in there and all those nasty jobs that people don't like. There are some groups on Facebook where people won't allow me in because of what I do for a living, and there's this fear of over sales and marketing that you're going to be sold to. And actually, sales and marketing, there are two different things. There are two different entities. There is an overlap. And it should never be done when you're doing sales and marketing. It should never be done in a hard way, because you'll never build a relationship that will last anyway. I mean, for me, marketing, it's about projecting who you are and providing a solution to a problem to a specific target audience. There's more to it than that, but that helps me define what marketing is. Sales is the result of people becoming engaged within your marketing, and they want to pick up the phone and talk about their problem, and where you match the solution up to a point where they go, I'd like to work with you.
So I think my understanding of what you just said is marketing is kind of, it's global. It's you telling the world in various different ways and guises that you're there and about the things you do. And sales are when the people who've responded to your marketing then interact with you with a view to purchasing something. And something that's very important for students to understand the first time I think they're answering the phone, David, as well. When people interact with you to buy something, it's because they want to buy something, not because they want to waste their time.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, with sales, I think there's this thing out there where you must talk all the time and talk the prospect to death. And it's not like that at all. It's actually the other way around. Sales is all about listening. It's asking about the right questions to understand what your prospect wants. And then you can adjust your services in such a way so it matches what they need. And then, it doesn't become a sale where you've got to put that arm in a half Nelson. It's a case You know, can I start working with you, John? Because I like what you offer and it meets all my needs. You know, they do the buying, you don't do the selling. You listen to them, you ask them the right questions, and you know, always have the open mind. And I love doing this, of thinking, I'm not a salesperson. I'm a consultant. I'm a doctor. They're a patient. They need some help and support. I'm going to ask them questions, and you know what? I might not even have the right solution for them. And if that's the case, don't be afraid to tell them straight away, because you'll just win a load of respect for it.
We seem to have kind of moved on to sales. I'd like to come back to marketing. But I think one of the things that's my background is sales and marketing, and I was national sales trainer for Red Driving School. So anyone who trained with Red who feels they didn't get a very good service, it wasn't my fault. I was brought in to try and fix some of the damage once they'd got themselves into trouble. But one of the things that I think is very important about sales is that every pupil that comes to you has a problem.
Correct.
And that problem is that they need a driving license. And you've got to think about the sale, the problem, as how are you going to help that pupil get to where they want to be? So it's not a driving lesson you're selling. It's not a £25 one-off 1 hour lesson. It's potentially £1,000 that someone's going to invest their time and their money and their effort and probably some blood, sweat and tears. And they need you to almost put your arm around them. David, you mentioned the word consultant. Did you say doctor?
Doctor, yeah.
You're almost going to be saying to them, so what would a driving license do for you? What is it you're going to achieve when you get the license? You've got to identify their goal with them.
Correct.
And that will aid the sales process by letting them tell you why it's important to do those lessons.
By the way, if you're a PDI and you're watching this right now, not the recording, you've got the chat box, just put Y in it or number 1 or something like that, just to let us know that you're a PDI. Your sales are very largely determined by the quality of your marketing as well. And I like to use a football analogy. The best sell that you can ever have is a ball that's whipped in by your winger and right across the 6-yard box, and all you've got to do is tap it home. Because from the marketing, they've embraced your marketing, they've recognised they've got a problem, they've recognised that you can present the solution to them in such a way that they love, and all they want to do is just pick the phone up and say, when can I join you? Right, that's good marketing. When you look at our industry, and let's look at it from the learner point of view, you know, a learner driver. Let's not look at fleet or ADI training here. Let's just look at purely learners because it helps. There's a few people here pressing ones. Thank you for that. What are they after? They're not after the driving lesson. And when I make websites for people, I say, look, I'm not going to sell driving lessons on there because I don't sell sausages. And people go, well, sausages, David? I'm not selling sausages either. I'm not a butcher. I say to them, no, but we're going to sell the sizzle. You see, the driving lesson is the sausage, but passing the driving test, getting that driving license is selling the sizzle of those succulent sausages in the frying pan. And if you're only selling sausages, if you're only selling driving lessons, people become fixated with the logical decision of price. You get into the thing of problem, solution, and their dream of what they want to do, passing their driving test. Yeah. Then all of a sudden, it becomes an emotional buying purchase, and you can start to raise the price barrier higher and higher and higher because you've gone away from that. So what do they want? Okay, so the first thing, what do they want to do? They want to pass their driving test. How do they want to pass their driving test? Well, it could be in different ways. You see, for me, I passed my driving test on the first attempt. So I didn't need, it wasn't 2 or 3 fails and I didn't need to find a different driving school. But I was a beginner. So when I first started out, I was in the yellow pages, picked the phone up, and I wanted beginner driving lessons. But I got rid of that driving instructor after a number of lessons because I wasn't making progress. So again, back in the day, yellow pages, I picked the phone up. But now, as a buyer, I changed. I didn't see myself as a beginner anymore. I saw myself as a mature learner driver or part-trained learner driver. So when you're marketing, I'll just quickly talk about websites. Have at least 4 products, because this will help you with the problem and solution, and it'll help you get them to pick the phone up and call you. Your 4 products are simple. Beginner's course. I know that once they're in the car with you, you're going to tailor that course to them. It doesn't matter, but they don't know that. What they need to do is they've seen it from their eyes and their eyes only. So make sure that you've got a beginner's course on your website and tell them what this beginner's course is all about, and tell them pretty much how you're going to wipe their backside for them. You know, this is a hand-holding exercise from A to Z. It's a one-stop shop, everything that they need to know. Remove all the doubt, remove all the risk. The second product is the one that I did, the mature learner. I wasn't mature at 18, I promise you. But it's part trained. So what do they want? Well, their decision buying making process is slightly different. Their problem is slightly different. Part of their problem is they don't want to start all over again. So if you can share that with them in your marketing literature, that you have an understanding of their problem, and part of their problem is they don't want beginner lessons. They don't want to waste themselves doing 10 hours doing, you know, the basics. They want to crack on and get on with it. The third one is confidence building, because there are some pupils out there who would specifically love a course that's designed for people who have higher anxiety levels than others. So again, that's their problem. Solve it. And it's really common in this industry for people to be getting around behind a steering wheel for the first time. And truth be told, I had a lot of bravado when I was 17. I still have now. But just behind that facade of the bravado was a little timid little boy behind this big steering wheel. And there's a lot of people out there. So that's your third product. It's your third solution to their problems. And your fourth one, which is really common, is driving test rescue. Because lots of people would have failed a driving test elsewhere, and they don't want driving lessons. They want somebody who can understand them. They've gone through a course of lessons. They've probably had a lot of problems on the way, hit a few obstacles, and they are no longer happy with the service they're receiving from their driving instructor. And what they want is they want 2 big arms around their shoulders. They want a bit of a hug, and they want looking after so that they can go on to pass their driving test. They are all 4 different solutions to 4 different problems, but regular problems with our industry. So as soon as you can start addressing that from a marketing point of view by putting it in your literature, then the more phone calls that you're going to get. And once you get that phone call, guess what? Oh yeah, I'm phoning you up about your confidence building course, or I'm phoning you up about because I failed my driving test already. The sale, you're halfway to it.
Yeah, they've come to you with a problem already. David, can I ask you specifically about marketing? And I've got some very strong views on marketing in our industry. How do you feel it differs, marketing for our industry, or does it differ from other industries?
The only thing that differs, Adam, are the people that do it. There are people that understand what marketing is and what they want to try to achieve. Marketing is a beautiful thing, as is business. You know, so it can be a great thing for your business, but also a great thing from your client base as well. I think within our profession, with our industry, we can have our nose up against the cold face, and I think we do put ourselves down. I do think our pricing is particularly low, and I can say that with a lot of confidence because I can look at other small industries, professions that are based from home, like your electrician, for example, like your plumber, and even your window cleaner. If you look at your window cleaner, what's it cost to clean your windows? 10, 15 quid? And how many are doing those an hour? They're doing 2 an hour. They're making £30 an hour. And what costs have they got involved? And they're just cleaning windows. No offense to a window cleaner. They can do a great job, but they're just cleaning windows. What we're doing as a profession is saving people's lives. And I do feel, I've got some strong views on this, I do feel that because of the training process to become a driving instructor, that very few courses include business, it also doesn't include self-worth. And therefore what we find is people are not trained and they don't go in at the higher prices, they go in at the lower prices because they don't feel that they're worth more than that when they are. I mean, for me, all driving schools should be charging a minimum of 50 quid an hour. And then if you change the concept slightly away from driver safety, this is a skill for life. And this is a fantastic tool that they're going to have, that they're going to use for their work. So let's take driving lessons away from this, and let me resell it to you, Adam. Let me tell you that, Adam, today, for I'll tell you what, for £27,000, Adam, you're going to go on a program that's going to help you increase your wages by £10,000 a year for the next 40 years. That, Adam, is what a university course is, because university fees are £9,000 a year. What you're doing with a car is because people can find work, they can go further, they may need a car for work, so therefore they get more money per hour. It's £1,000 to pass your driving test, more or less, and they've got that for life. It is nothing. We really undervalue ourselves. You don't see a solicitor doing that. I mean, a solicitor, 250 quid an hour? And what are they doing? They're sorting out somebody's messy divorce or some sort of land dispute. Things that are really not important to life. What we're doing, actually, we're selling a product that's very altruistic. Wow, I want to drive. I can't wait till I drive when I'm 17. You know, and all these things that it brings to you. So I do believe through the training process, and maybe because people haven't always come from a business background, it's quite cross-sectional. They might have worked in the police, they might have worked in a factory, but they don't realise, for me, and I'm making a generalisation, but they don't realise the true value of this. And I think £50 an hour is just a starting point for me.
I think you've touched on something there, David. I think one of the things that this industry always suffers from is that because dad or your brother can teach you to drive,
yeah,
I think people see it as something that I can do myself, and then I'll just have a driving instructor teach me to pass my test. So you've started to already formulate an idea. When we were talking earlier about marketing, about positioning yourself in the industry, you've already started to paint a picture for some of the people on this webinar tonight of, you've got to understand, when we talk about SWOT analysis, you've got to understand what is out there.
Yeah.
What are you up against? What are your threats?
What are you up against, Mum and Dad?
Competition. And we're already starting to look at what this industry is and what the customer is looking at. So the more you can actually provide a package, a solution to their issues, the more you're likely to be able to increase your prices.
Well, let's look at that. Let's look at Mum and Dad. Because what I'm going to say now, you know, it's a pet hate of mine. It's probably what you're trying to lure me into, Adam. Cars without signage on, livery. There we are, Adam. Me and you, we're up at the Riverside. Adam's a Middlesbrough fan, by the way, if nobody knew. Stadium of Light. So we're up at the Riverside. We're in the car park there, Adam, and there are 3 cars.
Yeah.
Right? All same make and model, just for they're all Ford Fiestas, right? And we're with a Pupil. Right, car A, it's got an L plate on front and back. Car B has got some magnetics on, and car C has got the full professional livery. And we ask Adam, a Pupil, which car do you think is Mum and Dad's car? It's car A. It's got the L plate on front and back. Which car do you think is the hobbyist, the part-timer, the someone who does this every now and again? It's the one with the magnetics on.
The one who's going to let you down, and the one who's perhaps going to not give you the best solution for you, who's perhaps going to do it when they can.
Yeah, who might not have all the training.
Yeah, no disrespect to anyone who is like that, but we're trying to generalise here.
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking at this from the learner's point of view.
Correct. You're both absolutely correct. And if you look at packaging, because this is what we're talking about, there's a wonderful thing out there called the 4 Ps of marketing. You can extend it to 7 Ps of marketing. One of them is packaging. Easter eggs are fantastic for this, because what's an Easter egg? It's a dumb bit of injection moulded chocolate, right? And most of it's not chocolate. But look at the wrapping. And I tell you what, Adam, if your wife does not receive a beautiful Easter egg from you, there's hell to pay.
And the interesting thing, that the £30 Easter egg, once you've taken the ribbon off and all the other stuff, is no different inside, effectively, than the £4.50 Easter egg.
So true.
The sausage is still the same. It's the sizzle, as you say, David.
Yes, the sizzle. And so if David, if we can just take because one of the big things that often a lot of instructors want to talk about is websites versus YouTube versus Facebook versus social media. My personal opinion is the more happy, smiley faces of pupils that have passed, the more you can make this whole process real. You can see the success of the people have had.
Mm-hmm.
It replicates other industries. It replicates that idea of realism.
Community.
And specifically, more importantly, with the huge, inexorable rise and constant movement of social media. What's your advice in terms of marketing from that point of view?
So firstly, don't depend on one.
Yes.
Because if one doesn't pull any results in that month, then you can rely on the other. When it comes to social media versus websites, we have to remember, first of all, that in the main, you're teaching teenagers, and teenagers have only ever known a world of internet, and have only ever known a world where businesses have websites. If you don't have a website, it can throw up a question mark in the perception of the products and service that you offer and the value that you offer as well. So don't have a website, it puts a question mark there. The difference for me in terms of buying is that Facebook and social media is a place to go where we hang out. And quite clearly, advertising in those domains does work. We can target audience and things like that. But I'm not going to go on Facebook tonight to buy anything. I might buy something, but right now I'm not in a buying mood. Why? I'm in a chatting mood with my mates. So when people buy through places like Facebook, I see it as being quite passive. Yeah, they might be in a decision buy making process already because they could have been speaking about it over the last few days with mum and dad or what have you not. So you might get lucky that way. And, you know, there are a lot of leads to be found on Facebook, don't get me wrong. But what happens is this, you are getting something from a passive buyer. So you might be getting somebody who's, you have to bear in mind, thinking, yeah, okay, I'll give driving lessons a go. So if you're getting somebody from social media where they might be thinking, I'm giving driving lessons a go because you're finding them rather than them finding you, your skills are going to be spot on. You've got to make sure that during that lesson they love it, and you've got to make sure at the end of that first lesson they book a second lesson, and you keep on doing that. You know that you hook them in. With your website, they're less passive. They have made a decision that they want to start to look for something, whether it's I don't know, a new shed from B&Q, a computer mouse, a football shirt, or driving lessons. If they go onto Google and type in driving lessons your area, then they are in a mind to buy. So your client thinking is slightly different. It's always good to bear that in mind. And, you know, when they pick the phone up and you say, where do you find me from? They say, oh, I've seen your website. Boom. You know that perhaps their decision buy-making process is a little bit sharper than maybe someone, oh, yeah, one of my mates passed on Facebook. I was just inquiring about lessons. They're still interested, or they would never have phoned you. But it's a difference in sharpness. But for me, a website it ticks the extra box of your presence and your professionalism. It's something that people expect to see. And I think the people who charge more, I mean, you can fill your diary just on Facebook, but I feel the people who charge more tend to have a strong website to back them up because they
have a brand. We've talked, haven't we? We've talked about the big Easter egg, and we've talked about awareness. And I think one of the things that having a branded car, having a website that's visible, having branding on your Facebook business page, having business cards, having the whole package shouts brand. And when people see it and they have this brand image reinforced on them, it does make the difference, and it does give you the ability to charge more. We've had a comment, David, I just want to bring this up. Graham Smith. And he says that 99% of my business is from recommendation. They don't care about livery or sizzle. I just want to make a comment on that, Dave, before I perhaps ask you and John to make a comment.
Yeah.
I think perhaps when you get maybe a year or 2 years into your job, and we're going to come to pupil management and diary management, then yes, your pupils will probably come from recommendation. Mm-hmm. But perhaps what you haven't appreciated, I mean, perhaps this is directed at you, but just in general, is that you probably are doing the sizzle every day in your lesson.
Yeah.
You're doing the sizzle. You're keeping people excited. You're keeping them driven. You're helping them plan. You're not just perhaps doing one lesson to the next lesson. You've got a plan and a course of what's going to happen. You're doing it, but you're doing it.
There is a reality check that you can do there. Now, I don't know Graham's business. I don't know where he's at in the market, what he's doing, and perhaps Graham will let us know. But I was going to just digress a moment ago, David, to remind people, particularly ADIs that are listening, but for students that are coming through, the reason that we're running this webinar this evening, a couple of extra webinars, and the reason it's already out there, I take your point, David, that ADI should really be charging 50 quid an hour, and I think that's a given. But having said that, in any given area, there will be a range of anything up to about 35% difference in price from the lowest driving lesson price to the highest driving lesson price. And Graham, with 99% of your business come from recommendation, I'd really applaud you and congratulate you if you're getting that 99% and you're 30% above the average level. Well, 30% above the lowest level or 35% above the lowest level in your area. And if you're not, incidentally, but now is the time when you're getting all that business to stretch the boundaries and start pushing the prices forward.
Push your branding.
Because everything goes to your bottom line. And going back to what David was saying earlier, that's what takes your families on holiday. It's what pays for Christmas. And it's what means you don't work Sundays or you don't work Saturdays or whatever it happens to be. Yeah.
No, I agree.
My target wouldn't necessarily be a price target. I mean, if it was Aberdeen, I'd be going for 40 quid an hour. If it was Cardiff, I'd be going for 26, 27 quid an hour, you know. So it wouldn't really be a price target, but it would be a percentage target. I would want to look, what's the average in my area? And am I attaining 15% above my average as a minimum, maybe 20%? And what's the lowest in my area? And am I attaining 30% above that?
I got two things on that, going back to Graham as well. Graham, we speak quite a bit on the webinars, and he's always Graham's actually an example of what I think all ADI should do. Go out there, listen, watch, make
decisions. Well, my guess is the fact that he's here tonight, he'll be doing well.
99% recommendation. Graham, I love you, but I'm going to be a cynic. I'll say that's too high. Because
you have to rely on the other sources, absolutely.
Yeah, you know.
With respect, just while you're on this point, David, Graham, have you actually done any research to look at potentially, do these pupils go away and check you before they come to you? So their friend might recommend you, but have they looked on your Facebook page? Have they looked on your website? Have they looked at what other products you offer? Perhaps you might offer free apps or free services. And it's often, you'll find, and I'm going to make a huge assumption here, that I bet Graham does have some of these things that he offers. So that when pupils recommend that to their friend, are recommended by their friends, they go and have a look at you, and they're socially proven. You're socially proven.
Adam, what you're referring to there is the marketing mix, and a lot of ADI, all my business comes through recommendations, and I agree with you. Hold on a second. What other marketing material have you got out there, whether it's website, Facebook, or what have you not, so they can have a look before they pick the phone up? I mean, Graham's obviously, his service has got to be top notch, you know, to be getting that, and hats off to you. Moving on to what John said in terms of price, you know, some areas can be lower. Aberdeen and Oxford, you know, they're the £40 an hour parts of the country, where, you know, some parts in the northeast, 18, 19, 20 quid. And when I get an ADI saying, oh, it's really difficult here, I said, well, I always say to them, what are you charging? And they'll say, let's say £20 an hour. And I'll say, okay, what's the most expensive in the area? And they'll say 22. First thing I say to them is, why aren't you charging 22? They're charging it, why aren't you? You know, and that's, where's your self-worth in that? I don't think that you're less. And where Graham Graham's been around for a while, he's got his recommendations in. If you're a new driving instructor and you don't have those recommendations, brand is really important. This is why Coca-Cola, Virgin, Apple, I'm just looking at my stuff on the stuff that's on my desk, Samsung, you know, they've all got top branding, Because if Virgin, Apple, Samsung all came in brown paper bags, you can bet your bottom dollar the prices will be through the floor. But because the branding is good and the image is good, people think, oh, that must be good, and they're prepared to pay that a little bit more.
But it doesn't have to be expensive, David, does it? I mean, in real terms, just having that professional feel, a domain name, £6. Email that goes with it, £1. Setting up Facebook business, free. Maybe you want to get someone to design some images for you, but even then, just go and get some pictures of you with most modern phones now have a 4K camera or at least a 10 HD camera. So
an example of something today, Adam, that is absolutely free. Making sure that you're consistent with the way you represent yourself. I had an email from somebody today, and I always follow up if there's a website or whatever. And it was trading under 3 different names. I had a quick look around at 3 different trading names, and not getting to the top of Google. Well, that's one reason. But if you're trading, if you've got 3 different names for the way you sell yourself, it costs nothing to be consistent, and people know who they're dealing with.
Oh, you're going to love me tonight because I've got 3 different names.
Yeah,
you run 3 different areas of your business, which is slightly different.
John's point is very valid, David, isn't it? That we talked about this earlier on in making sure that you position yourself within the industry. I have a very close, well, I say colleague, very good friend in the industry. I'm sure he was listening, or if anyone knows who he is, he won't mind me talking about him. But he had a driving school website, and his driving school had a name. And on his website, he couldn't work out in the wording what he was trying to say. So he would say, I'll make the name up, John Smith of Learn to Drive Driving School.
Right.
So what he was talking about on his website was, Learn to Drive Driving School, blah, 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 blah. John does this, John does that. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute. Are you John? Are you selling John the instructor? Are you John of Love to Drive Driving School, or are you Learn to Drive Driving School? And the message was all over the place. The pictures that he had on his website weren't consistent. They weren't of a brand or just him. They were everything. And I think John's making a very valid point. There has to be a consistent message. And it comes back to what we were talking about earlier, about where do you fit? Where do you sit? What's your marketing message? Are you a cheap and cheerful driving school? Do you offer deals? If so, your business has to deal with that. Are you someone who charges the utmost? In which case your brand and your image has to match that.
Right.
So, it's very important that we work on that. Can I just quickly ask the question to John? John, you said you wanted to be away at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I can stretch about 10 minutes, but I'm going to have to...
David, we're kind of getting to the point where we could probably have enough content for another hour or even a second one of these. Do you think it would be useful to try and wind this up in 20 minutes while John's here? Or do you think it might be useful to finish sales and marketing and perhaps come back to the other topics later? What's your thoughts? John, do you have any thought?
Fine by me. A couple of things I've noticed. I've noticed that there are a lot of people still on as many people on board with us as we started with. So hopefully we're not
boring yet.
boring with that. And I feel there are some juicy things that we haven't sort of started to touch on yet. So I can only make an hour on a Tuesday. I think it would be a good idea to extend this into another session. Maybe add another webinar into the series, David, and take this one into next week and so on.
Did you hear that, David?
I'm back. It booted me out. Were you wrapping this up, were you?
No, that's what I was saying, David, just because we lost David and my internet's been a bit flaky tonight, is that I think there's another hour in what we're doing here. Right. I could go with it within a few minutes, and perhaps this first one, the 4 pillars, should be extended into another webinar.
Let's
not finished tonight yet, but
Well, David, on that point, then, if everyone's okay for this to happen, we'll finish off sales and marketing, I think, on this one, because I think there's still a lot of stuff that we haven't covered that's really important, and perhaps we'll set up another for the in-car stuff at a later point. And you'll probably notice, everybody, my voice is terrible at the moment, and I keep having to nip off for a drink. I've had a very bad ear and throat infection, so I'm struggling. So apologies for that.
Do you mind if I put a couple of plugs in here then, while you're just looking at your throat and what have you not? We're able to do these webinars through the Driving Instructors Business Summit, which John, Adam and Graham have kindly purchased the trade stand, and they're going to come down, and the money for the trade stand goes to the charity speedofsight.org. Now, Speed of Sight, they're a blind driving school, if you've not come across them yet. They give fantastic driving experiences to people with disabilities that will never, ever have the opportunity of driving. So, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, being blind and what have you not. And the Driving Instructors Business Summit donates every single penny to that charity. And John, Adam and Graham, they're coming down, and I said to them, look, if you're going to come and do this, let's do some webinars together. So we're using some webinar tech that's been provided by AD&D. So thanks very much to Tina and Kelly for that. The summit itself, it is going to be a fabulous day. Now, one of my big gripes when I first came into this industry was, and I'm not being negative to what's out there, because I do like these people, but when I go to a conference, I like to be entertained. Right? When I go to a workshop, I want to have a good time. What I don't want is sore bum. And that is when I'm sitting down having to hear stuff that I'm really not interested in. So I decided to put these summits on about 3 years ago. We're in our third one this January. And because of the circles I operate in, I've got some world-class presenters that, well, if you're going to come, you are just going to absolutely love it. But the best thing about all of this is, and I'm just looking for the link right now. I can't find the link. Smart Driving have got 50 tickets for you.
There you go. I was just going to...
I've just got the link right here. Boom. If you want to come to the summit, it's 17 quid to get in. You can still pay 17 quid if you want to, because it goes straight to the charity. But what Smart Driving have done is said, look, David, can we put our hand in our pocket? And they have done. And get some tickets. So we've got 50 tickets. So if you want to come and see John, Adam and Graham, if you want to take part in a great day, if you want to contribute to the charity, if you want to learn something, when I say learn something, it's not prescribed. We've not got people preaching to you. In fact, we want you to come along with your own business question and get it answered. And this is not people standing up doing boring presentations, because we're doing it in the style of a chat show, ladies and gentlemen. This is not Jonathan Ross or David Letterman or Paul O'Grady or Des O'Connor, but there is a settee, there is a desk, there is a chair, and we do have a world-class professional presenter by the name of David Heiner, who's going to host all of this. You're going to have a terrific day. So please, get onto the link I've just put on there, which is drivinginstructorsbusinesssummit.co.uk/smart-driving. Get on there, put your name in, put your email address in. I'll get the details at my end, and then it'll be in a week or so's time, or I will send you an email with confirmation that you're coming. So John and Adam, take my hats off to you, because not only do you invest into the charity, into the summit, and you're out there to meet new people, you invest in your own team.
I think the other thing I'd like to just add to that, David, is that I've met anyone who's on this webinar who's met the Speed of Sight guys would do everything they could to be involved in it, and it's magnificent. And I know we're blowing our own trumpet a little bit. We're going to be there. A number of driving schools that we know very well are going to be there. Yourself's going to be there, David. So it's really worth coming along. I'll tell you what we'll do for anyone on this webinar who comes to the summit and buys one of our products from us. We'll actually give them their 17 quid back for the ticket. There's a deal for you. Come to the summit, buy something from us, and we'll pay for you. We'll pay for you coming to the summit. Because we really do think that...
that's assuming you don't come out a free ticket.
Yeah, assuming it's not a free ticket.
Yeah.
Well, please, I know there's lots of PDIs watching this. This is a fantastic opportunity for you. Now, you're a PDI now. I know this. I know what you've done. You have made a decision in your life to change your life. And it's not just you doing that. It's your family. Because they've all gone, okay, David, if you want to become a driving instructor, we're going to have to bear the pain while you're going to go through the training process. But we love you. We'll support you. So we know, John, Adam and myself, we know this is not just you making the decision to become a driving instructor and put yourself through the training. And there's no guarantees in this life. We know it's family orientated. Get yourself on this summit, because you'll meet wonderful, wonderful people with so much information, and you will be doing yourself and your family a massive favour by getting onto it. Susan White has just said, where's the summit? Suzanne, you're in Burton, aren't you? So Suzanne, take the A38 and get yourself to Mansfield, because that's where it's at. It's only 17 quid. And if you look on the, well, it's free for you for the first 50. And by the way, it's 140 people that registered for this. So the first 50 get their ticket. And if you wanted to stop over in the hotel, we're stopping at Junction 28, Premier Inn. So you can see us the night before.
David, can we, we'll get back onto the questions then, because there was a few questions I wanted to ask you specifically.
Yeah, go for it.
One from Jim Ray, and I think we could all add something to this.
I'll just read it.
It says, hi Jim, in fact I was talking to you today, Jim, I think. You're one of our trainees. As you discussed earlier, a website is a must for your driving school business. To get your business on the top of the list, i.e. Google search, do you require website experts to do this, or is it easy enough to do yourself? Any advice or links would be much appreciated.
Can I answer that?
Do you want to have a go at it now? I'll chuck in anything that you miss.
Yeah, please. Can you do it yourself? Yes, you can do it yourself. But it's like, Jim, you're the managing director of your business. Whatever work that you do yourself, it's you doing it, okay? So you have to make a decision. Do I do it myself or do I outsource it? If I outsource it, what's the cost of that? And I'm not just, that's the financial cost, okay? If you do it yourself, what's the cost of it? Again, it's the financial cost, it's the training cost, it's the time, it's making sure that you get it right. So in any business, with any good managing director, they'll recognize the things that they want to do themselves and get to the best level and execute those activities themselves. And another good asset of a managing director will say, you know what, I'm going to outsource that. It's something I do personally. I know lots of driving instructors who want to do it by themselves, and they've taken the time to learn and do it, and it takes time. It does take time, and it's always changing, because what I learned 5 years ago is not relevant today at all. So can you do it yourself? Yes, you can. Train hard and do it every day.
You're right. David makes a good point with his final comment on do it every day. I was very recently on a Google presentation. I'm part of a team that's a Google affiliate, and Google's put a lot of effort into dealing with companies who want to learn about what to do. And the big thing that's so important now, about 18 months ago, correct me if I'm wrong, David, was it called Mobile-ageddon?
Oh,
where Google had almost
April
said...
April the 22nd, I think it was, 2015.
2015.
If you weren't responsive...
Yeah, over 18 months ago. But they said, Google had pretty much said, if your website has got to be mobile first, on-screen second. They then said that you need to be adding content regularly.
Yeah.
They then said you've got to add content that's specifically engaging to your industry. So those three things, there are lots of things out there that you can do every single day. But David's right, it's got to be done every day. And if there's any advice I would give you, just at a basic level, you've got to add content. What Google
were doing, you can put this all under one umbrella, because everybody heard about it as being Armageddon. You know, it actually wasn't. It was all about user experience, UX. Absolutely. So user experience is this. Can you navigate, can you look at it easily on a mobile phone? You know, that's part of the user experience, and everybody, oh, you must fit on a mobile, blah, blah, blah. But the other thing that Adam really mentioned is engagement. Because if you talk tripe, if you just talk about yourself, if the content's not very good, if the look doesn't very good, guess what's going to happen? People are going to come to your website and then leave your website very quickly. That's called bounce rate. What you need to do is you need to keep people on your website and exploring different pages. The more pages they explore, the longer they stay on the website, the more Google thinks, this website's got to be half decent. I quite like that. We'll promote that up the rankings.
There's something that we like to promote, David, and I'm sure you've heard this, the 8-second rule with a website.
Oh, I don't even go as far as 8 seconds.
Yeah. Down to about 4 seconds, I think.
Yeah. People that Google did some stats on the latest seminar I was at, that if a website doesn't load within 4 seconds, they'd leave it. Yeah. They also found that if they couldn't instantly see what was it about, and was it about something they were interested in within 8 seconds, they would bounce out and never come back to it.
And what Google's looking at is what Google are doing there is it's right across the board, right? So you're dealing with 6-year-olds and 96-year-olds, predominantly, not always. We're dealing with teenagers. Now, what's the attention span of a teenager? 8 seconds. Can you remember the old Jasper Carrot joke with the goldfish, like the 1 second? That's your standard teenager. You know, they need the message instantly. They've got to get it instantly, and they've got to get your phone number instantly. You are a doctor, and you are providing medicine, and they are ill. Yeah. And they want the best doctor and the quickest doctor, and they want that solution now. That's how you should look at it.
Guys, I'm going to have to leave everyone. I'd like to just say thank you to everybody who's come along tonight, and thanks, guys, for hosting this, Adam and David, for all your expertise this evening. I look forward to the next one of these. But I've got to look after my marriage now. The problem is my wife.
Is there an implication that me and David aren't?
So I have to go and collect my wife. And so I'm about to click the leave meeting. So thanks, everybody. And I'll see you all again soon.
Cheers, John. Take care. Thank you for letting me into your network. I really appreciate it.
We'll round up in about 10 minutes, I think, David.
Yeah, cool for that.
There's a couple of things I still just want to touch on while we're talking about sales and marketing.
Yeah, let's do it.
One of the things that I think is important is if you're not going to go into a franchise, or maybe even if you are, is a name important? And what should you consider when choosing a name for a driving school?
Love it. Oh, I love this question. This is all to do with two things: perception of the customer and where you want to be in the future. And really, it's all about perception of the customer. Okay, so I'm going to dream of a name up. Pass with Paul. There you go. You've got your ADI badge, right? And you're called Paul. And so you decide to call yourself Pass with Paul. And you've got your branding, you've got your website. Then in a few years' time, I don't know, 18 months, 2 years, you want to start training other driving instructors. Or you want to start doing fleet work. Does the name Pass with Paul marry up with driving instructor training or learners? Does it marry up with fleet driver training or with learners? So if you just want to do learners and only want to deal with learners, I feel Pass with Paul's fine. Pass with Paul doesn't stop you, doesn't prohibit you from working with people to become instructors or fleet. But for me, from a perception point of view from the customer, it becomes a barrier. The words that I like are driver training. So, for example, Adam Bragg driver training. And some people say, well, can you use your name? Well, it works for Bill Plant, and, so you've got a great example there. He uses, I think it's Bill Plant driving school, I think, or School of Motoring, I can't remember. But feel free, use your name, Adam Bragg, driver training. Now, if you use driver trainer, it implies that you work by yourself. So, Adam, let's say you've got a fleet operation, you've got 6 or 7 driving instructors in your team as well, and you're going to do some work for company X, and Adam doesn't turn up, but your business is called Adam Bragg Driver Trainer. There's a perception issue that they're expecting Adam. So I think the name's really important. I love driver training because it's all encompassing. You can even do HGVs. You can forklift trucks, If you want to stick with learners, Pass with Paul's probably fine. If your name's Sheila, might not be. But yeah, I think your name's important. And then once you've thought of a name, the next thing to do is go onto something like godaddy.co.uk or Namescheap or 123reg and see if the name is there already. So see if the name has been taken, because if David Poole driver training has been taken as a .co.uk or a .com, what's the point in calling myself that? So make sure that .co.uk and the .com is available for whatever name they use.
I also think, David, that it comes back to what we mentioned at the very beginning of when you first sit down and think about, and this is what a lot of driving instructors don't do. I know a lot of instructors think of a name and they try and incorporate the L plates and things, but I also think there needs to be, and I've spoken to a couple of names I've noticed on the in this webinar who are trainees of ours, who we've had very brief discussions about their career and where they see themselves. And I think it's very important early on to almost have a 2-year, 3-year plan.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself as Adam Bragg, the guy who teaches people to drive in your local community? Therefore, Adam Bragg works because you are the business. Or do you see yourself as perhaps looking to take on other people? And it's very important to have that SWOT discussion. Just remind people what SWOT means, David, when you...
Yeah, sure. So we're looking at SWOT is, I'll put it on here as well. So it's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So what's a strength? It's what you're good at. What's your business got right now? Where does your business and yourself perform well? Weaknesses is the opposite. Opportunities could be things upon the horizon. So, for example, an opportunity for somebody like smart driving is the change in legislation, because the change in legislation, therefore, as a consequence, will create new products. So, therefore, that's an opportunity. An opportunity for driving instructors at the moment, and this is, looking, is the motorway lessons, because things are going to be changing there, aren't they? What's a threat? Well, it could be a competitor. Another threat could be diesels. I mean, who drives a diesel right now? What's going to happen with diesels? It could be a threat to the business in some way, shape, or form. It could be the fact that you're a manual driver and you've got 40 hours a week, but everybody's starting to move over to, in the future will start to move over to automatic. So it's with the SWOT analysis, it's having quite a broad mind. It's writing down and be really, really open with it, And when you do write your business plan, when you do write your plan, you don't have to stick to it.
No, and I have to say, I've never been involved in any business, even on huge scales, where we've ever really stuck to it. But you have to have that plan.
Yeah, and not just in your head, because that's what you
write it down. Yeah. You have to. There's been a couple of really good questions, David, but just while you're talking about car, I'll come back to David Lewis and a couple of others that have come up, so just bear with us. Mm-hmm. There's a great question I wanted to ask you about car, because most of the people on this webinar are going to be qualifying soon.
What car do you get? Okay, right. Before we talk about car, let's talk about transmission. If you look at society right now, and look at the world of motor manufacturing, there are more automatic cars that are being made and produced and sold in England than there ever has been. I'm 41. When I was 17 years old, you would not get me in an automatic car. Why? Because it had a huge stigma that you couldn't drive, or a stigma of being disabled. And that sounds horrible. It sounds absolutely horrible, but it was true. Today's, that stigma really isn't there. And there are more and more automatics on the road, and there are more people wanting to drive an automatic for good reasons. They might have lived in Europe, or they might have lived in America, and they've come over here and they want to learn to drive. They might need to learn to drive quickly. They might just can't be bothered with manual gearbox. Now, if you look at your local area and look at how many actually driving school cars are automatic, I'm guessing there's no more than 2% in your area right now.
It comes down to SWOT, doesn't it, Dave? When you're doing... it's David, sorry, Dave.
You call me Dave, I don't mind.
Sorry, man. When it comes to your opportunities, that's a great example, isn't it? Look at the opportunity, write down, do some research, quickly Google how many automatic cars are in your area. Look at things like, do they charge more?
And check this out, Adam.
They really do.
Back in the day, we used to ask the question, when I was 17 and you were the same, why do automatics charge £2 an hour more? And the answer was, because they drink more fuel. Now, that's not really the case today. And especially when there's all your electric cars and your hybrid cars are automatic, they've got a better, they're more economic. But hey, you look at the prices, automatic cars are always £2 more expensive. So if you had a 40-hour week diary, you're £4,000 a year better off.
Yeah.
Just by doing that, it's incredible. In terms of car, don't be afraid. Do not be afraid. And what I mean by that is you don't have to have a small, typical car, or it's good for learners. You don't have to go for a Corsa. You don't have to go for, these small mini type vehicles. You don't. Who said a learner's got to learn in a car like that? Now, I'm an owner, part owner of a driving school in Melbourne. called Learn to Drive Properly. Now, driving school cars in Australia are very similar to driving school cars over here in the UK. You know, your smaller cars. Well, we don't have one of those. We have a Holden Commodore with a V8 engine. It's 5 litres. And other driving instructors, and it's, by the way, it's in bright yellow. And other driving instructors go, you can't do that. Nobody want to learn to drive in that. Well, the average price down in Melbourne is $60 an hour. We charge $120 an hour for learner driving lessons, and our school's full. And it has been for about the last 2 years. So our car was different. Now let me move on to give you a wonderful example of 3 people. I'm going to talk about a lady called Stacey, who's up in Scotland. She drives an A3. It's an A3 convertible. It's one of the rare convertibles that you can actually drive for the driving test. Kids love it. It's jaw-dropping. People see it. They want to go and join her. Pete Leach, Pete's in Worcester. Pete came over to see me in Carcassonne a few years ago when I started doing some workshops over here. And he said, David, I'm thinking of changing my car. What should I get? I went, what are you driving at the moment, Pete? He was in a Fiat Abarth, you know, small type thing. I went, right, okay. I said, what do you pay for that? And he gave me some figures. We went to Auto Trader. Now, what I'm going to say to you right now might not work for you right now, but listen to what I say and just have a play around with it, okay? I said, let's have a £6,000 budget. Let's pay that £6,000 over 2 years, so £3,000 a year, divided by 50, £60 a week, okay? And let's stick another tenner on top for maintenance, so £500 a year for maintenance. So we're paying £70 a week for a car. What can we get for £6,000? Anyway, I found an Audi TT 1.8 diesel, 80,000 miles on the clock, full service history, looked gorgeous, right? It was denim blue. And I showed this to Pete and went, wow, this is amazing. A couple of weeks later, he comes back to me, Dave, I've done it. I went, oh, right, did you get the one in denim blue? And he went, no, I didn't get the TT. I bought a Subaru Impreza.
Because the concept of having something different, something kids want to be in the car, being seen, is massive.
It is massive. One of the first people to get me onto this was Derek Brutnell down in Loughborough. He drove a Volvo. I can't remember which Volvo it was. It was a blue Volvo. They put yellow graphics on it. Looked like a rally car. I worked with a chap called John Lendrum. John Lendrum's down in Southampton. I had a similar sort of conversation with him. Now, John's got a dozen driving instructors working with him or what have you not. We're looking at cars. And he's gone out and bought himself a Porsche and does Pass Plus in the Porsche and charges £300 a time for Pass Plus in his Porsche. And he's full. You know? So please don't think that you've got to go out there for a Corsa or anything like that. You can be different, but make that car look great. You know, make that car look great. When I first came into this industry, I was talking to a chap called Darren Tong. Darren's based over in the Long Eaton, Ilkeston sort of area, which is between Derby and Nottingham. And we were talking about stuff. And I said, Darren, I can't remember what car he had. I said, put some 17-inch rims on it. And he laughed. And nobody had rims on their car back, right? This is like 2008, 2009. Nobody had rims on their car. I was one of the first people to tell driving instructors to put rims on their car. And instructors are going, oh yeah, but they knock them into the curbs. Make sure that they don't. You're the instructor. Anyway, Darren put rims on his car. Kids were going, whoa, car's hot. You turn it from something from mum and dad's car to a hot car just by having a nice set of rims on it.
And it's not a coincidence that when I was in the marketing department of Let's Drive, the car of choice in 2000 was the Mini when it was launched.
Right.
And it's still no coincidence that today we've just completed our last lot of marketing budget on our new promotional material, and we still use the Mini because it still has that smart, sophisticated, expensive, kids want to drive it.
I'm with you 100% on that, and I would look at some really cool cars. I'd even look at something quirky looking like a Saab.
Yeah.
Why? Whoa, you know, it is a car and a half, and you can get some decent livery on that, and your car stands out. Because everybody else is driving the same old cars. I mean, remember the DS3 came out, Adam, right? Yeah. And everybody rushed to get a DS3, then everybody had a DS3. Be different, you know? Be different. Get a car that's comfortable for you because you can be sitting in it. But you can always put some pad on there for you to, on your back, so your back and bum aren't so sore. But be different, be bold, go out there and say, yeah, I can do this. This is me. And you're driving in it. You know, it's your office. Enjoy it.
I'm going to ask you for some top tips just to wind it up in a moment, Dave, but just to answer 2 questions that have come in. One just on cars, very specifically. Sandrine Tissier. Hi, Sandrine. I was talking to you just the other day about hazard perception. Where do you see the place of electric cars in the future in the business?
When I saw Sandrine's name come up, I've got a friend called Sandrine Tissier in Cognac. So how did you get on here? Where do I see the place of electric cars in the future in the business? Yeah, right up there. It's, forget our industry, look at the industry that drives it, which is the motor manufacturing industry. Everybody buys a car. What are they leaning to and why are they leaning to
A
it?
number of major manufacturers have said by 2020 and 2022 they'll only make electric cars. But I think if you look at it from a marketing point of view, David, which is what this subject is we're focusing on, imagine the appeal you can have. The only electric car in the region, you could charge more based on the fact that you're eco-friendly, based on the fact that there's no emissions. You could have a real interesting, quirky angle.
You're so true. How many times have you been out there and you've bought a chocolate bar because it was done? I can't remember the name of the people that do it, but they give money back more to the farmer in Africa for the cocoa bean where it came from.
I met the people that make innocent smoothies. And they're a prime example of people that don't mind saying to you, listen, we make it this way, it's going to cost you more, but look what you're doing to the world.
Yeah, it's good for you and it's good for the world.
Good for the world. It's a great marketing tip.
Be an early adopter. If you can get yourself an electric car, do it. I think most electric cars will do 300 miles, 200 miles, 200 miles. How many miles are you going to do a day?
Yeah.
Come on, charge it at night. You've got it tomorrow. People are going to talk about it more. Wow. People do talk about their driving lessons. Some do, some don't. I'll tell you what, they're taking driving lessons in an electric car. Guess what they're going to be talking about?
One of our big things, David, that we really push in our newsletters, and John is a big advocate of this, is, if you're going to be a brand in your region, in your area, then you really need to be speaking to your local newspaper, speaking to your local radio station. Now imagine being able to go to your local rag and saying, do you want to write a report on the only electric instructor in the country?
You know how to do that?
Sorry?
You know the best way of doing that?
Yeah.
So simple. You get yourself a Twitter account, brand it up, and then you start following local leaders in your area. So local leaders look like this. They are all the media outlets, and that's not just a business, but look at the journalists as well. Because the journalists on their taglines, so me being a Forest fan, I read the Nottingham Evening Post. So who do I follow? Nottingham Tales. And that's a guy called Paul Taylor. So I know his name. Follow the journalists in your area. Then follow MPs, follow councillors, follow local network business leaders, follow anybody to do with the driver training industry or anybody who has got a voice, local schools. And then what you start doing is look at what they're commenting on and make a little comment yourself. Even if it's got nothing to do with the driver training industry, make a nice little comment. They will start to look at you. Oh, Adam Brad made a comment on this. And then they see what you're doing. And then because you're talking about you doing whatever. And you don't have to have an electric car. You don't have to be the first. You don't have to have the best. You don't have to have a clean sheet. You can literally just have a dash cam in your car that is recording, let's say, an accident black spot or maybe bad set of traffic lights or something like that, and you're doing a commentary drive and you've uploaded it, and people go, you know what, that commentary drive for the A38 by the Snipe in Mansfield, certainly in Ashfield, is really good. I like it. A lot of people follow me in Mansfield, certainly in Ashfield. I'll share it to my tribe.
And remember that a lot of journalists, they're desperate for good, relevant content. So if you can give them something that's local, that's about safety, that people are going to read and want to comment on, it's massive.
I'll tell you why they're desperate for content, because you know this. Most of the content now is driven online, right? The more pages that you experience on their online newspaper, what have you not, then the more advertising they sell. They make more money now than they ever have done, simply because they can go to a company and say we get 19,000 views a day or whatever not. So they are desperate for content. And if you look at local newspapers, typically content is pretty thin on the ground. So if you've got content that you can share with them that's specific to your local area, less about you, because they ain't really interested in you as good as you are. I mean, they might be if you've won an MBE or you've done something outstanding or whatever not, but if you've got some talk about in your area that's related to driver safety, nights are dark, clocks have just changed. Bikes are on the road at the moment, kids riding bikes on the road at the moment with no lights on. I tell you now, tomorrow night after 6 o'clock, you're out on a lesson with your dash cam on, you're going to pass somebody, you're going to pass a kid like that. Take the snippet, get it on Twitter, get it out to your local journalists and what have you not. And then we're going, whoa, this is great. And you know what they do? They put a link into your website.
Absolutely. And what happens, David, that when the person who your friend, one of your pupils just recommended, said, this is who I learn with, they do a quick Google search, what do they find? They find the local newspaper quoting one of your articles or showing one of your videos. There's all these little tiny things that are related. And the electric car is perhaps a great example of, if you're going to choose an electric car, make a point of it being marketing.
Yeah.
The last question we've had from one of the attendees, David Lewis, sorry for hanging on for this one. Are there any franchises changing their business plans to accommodate the increase in trainee pink badge holders who may benefit from budget rates over shorter periods?
I don't know.
Yes is the short answer. Driving schools will recognise very quickly that more trainees will probably look for the trainee licence route because of the change in the new Part 3 test. So one of the things we'll perhaps talk about on the next webinar a little bit is put this into context and talk about the Part 3 test. But fundamentally, the Part 3 test is going to need you to provide a pupil, whether that's a full licence holder or a learner, which means that where you're going to get that pupil from. So the bigger schools have all kind of cotton onto the idea that the trainee is going to go on a trainee licence. Now, David's specific question is there going to be an increase in trainee pink badge holders who may benefit from budget rates over shorter periods? I don't genuinely feel that there's going to be that big an increase, in all honesty. If you wind back 10 years to when the credit crunch came along, I was at Red and part of the sales and marketing team there, and we were spending £1 million a month on advertising.
People were losing jobs then, by the way, people were losing jobs and they needed employment.
Absolutely.
In a moment, unemployment rate is low.
And the businesses had started to realise things were happening. People were getting big redundancies because they've been in big businesses for years. And they were becoming driving instructors. And at one stage, we had 29,000 people registering to train as an ADI. Now, obviously, what a lot of the schools recognised, and this is what the instructor college did, who eventually became Red, was they realised very quickly that if they changed their business model, push people through just the trainee licence standard, so these people haven't passed Part 3, stick them on a franchise, and this is where a lot of schools like Bill Plant and others grew very, very rapidly, then out they get. And suddenly what happens when you've got a huge influx of 7,000 new PDIs every year for 6 years running, 10 years running?
Yeah.
What's the first thing you do when you can't compete? You drop price. First thing they did, because they knew nothing else. They weren't trained in the things we're talking about, David. The schools weren't that bothered about retaining them and looking after them like they are nowadays. They just knew that next month, another 10 would come through. So I don't think genuinely that the numbers are there. There's currently only 6,000 people registering for a PRN number, so starting the process. And the numbers qualifying have remained pretty constant in terms of percentage of the people that start. So there isn't ever going to be that huge influx again. So,
for me, look at employment figures, and there's more people in work now than there has been for the last few years.
Absolutely. So it's not going to happen, David Lewis. The schools that we're dealing with, who we speak to regularly, Red, Bill Plant, Around the Bend, BSM, we speak to people from their schools on the ground as well as the management teams. They're experiencing booms. And what they want to do is they want to keep their instructors. They want to encourage them to deal with people like ourselves, take on other skills, take on other products that these people, but stay with us, stay with Red as a franchise, but use other skills, because when you look good and you charge the most, The school looks good. So everyone's a winner, and they're not looking at cutting price. They're actually encouraging people to get out there and do the thing properly.
Yeah, and if you look at driving lesson prices as well, I mean, a few years ago, driving instructor franchises were the worst for dropping prices. But if you look at Red, most expensive.
Yeah.
29, 30 quid an hour. Karen Bird asks a question, do you believe a dash cam is necessary? Karen, I think I can answer that in 3 ways. 3 ways or 2 ways? Let me see. One, from an insurance point of view, you are a professional driver, Karen. It means that you're driving all the time. And because you're driving all the time, you are more prone than anybody else to be involved in an accident. And I think I was speaking to a company at the beginning of the year that an ADI will have an accident on average one every 4 years. So you've got like a 25% chance of being involved in an accident. It doesn't have to be you creating the accident, it's somebody hitting you.
They're generally small, low end.
Or small local knocks and what have you not. So just from an insurance point of view, Karen, I'd have one. From a training point of view, quite clearly you can use it from a training point of view when you record that data and then you pass that data back onto the pupil, as long as they're using it in the appropriate way. But for me, I'd be using it as a marketing point of view. As soon as my learner gets to a standard where they're good and they can do a commentary drive, I'd be saying, look, can you do a commentary drive down to Pentagon Island? Pentagon Island's in Derby, by the way. If you live in Manchester, you might not want to use Pentagon Island. There are other local islands that you can use, or roundabouts. And get them to do a commentary drive, then you record it, and then stick it on your Facebook and tag them in it, and with their permission. Whoa, they're doing a commentary drive, and they go to their friends.
David, about to the Google Armageddon, Mobilegeddon, and what Google want you to do. They want you to post regular content. And one of the things we get, we're talking about driving school websites and driving school marketing, is, well, what on earth can I post? Well, that's a classic example. If you have a pupil that does something exceptionally well, stick it on all your platforms.
Yeah, and then put a link back to your website.
Absolutely, because it's relevant. Anyone who likes your Facebook page is probably going to be driver related or friends of your pupils. The pupils are going to get tagged in it so that their friends see it.
Actually, if you want a real top SEO tip for this, what you do is, not everybody's going to do this, Adam, and you'll see why in a second. But what you do is you take your address where your business is and you put it into Google. And then Google will probably change your address slightly. So road sometimes becomes RD, or close becomes CL. Whatever they use their address as, you put your address as, copy and paste it, right? Then what you do, when you make a post on Facebook or YouTube, if you're doing one of these videos, if you don't mind sharing your address, and this is it, you see, lots of driving instructors don't like sharing their address. I get that. But if you don't mind, stick it on there, because that serves as what's called as a NAP, a name, address, phone number citation. And the more Google sees these NAPs, the more popular and relevant that they see you are, and it helps with your rankings overall.
I think we said we'll talk on some top tips. I'll give a top tip for Google. The DVSA, this is for any ADIs out there. I've mentioned this to all the people in our membership. DVSA are currently giving you the opportunity on your Find Your Nearest Instructor page on the website for you to put a link back to your website. Now, David, you're with me in this. Links aren't as big as they used to be once upon a time. However, if you get a .gov link back to your website, that is huge. And if you can do one top tip from me today, go to your Find Your Nearest page on the DVSA website, add your website, because a .gov link back to your website is still going to carry a lot of clout. Do it. So David, top tips then. If you can have any top tips just to finish off.
Oh lordy, right, okay. Get somebody else to sell your business for you. Great way of doing this. I'm going to put this in pigeon format, and then you go away and you think about it. We've been talking about price today. I love driving lessons that are more expensive because you're worth it. But marketing, let's say you're in a franchise and what have you not, everything's got a marketing cost. So I don't mind using loss leaders. So what you could do is you can make a voucher. Let's say that voucher is a 2-hour lesson for 10 quid. Sounds crazy, right? But check this out. This is how you increase the value in your business. You never see that 10 quid. The person who sells that voucher for you gets the 10 quid. You put terms and conditions on the back. 1 voucher per user, your postcode area, and maybe, I don't know, expiry date. But then you go to local charities. Not talking Oxfam, not talking British Heart Foundation. I'm talking about a local prominent charity that's in and out of your local newspaper, who is, I don't know, they could be raising money for an ill child, or it could be a local hospice or what have you not. Their network is huge in the local area, and there's only so many midnight walks they can do, parachute jumps, car washes and what have you not. So you could approach a local charity with your voucher, all nicely laminated. You might have 10 vouchers, and each voucher's worth a tenner to them. These are for you. If you know anybody that wants to take driving lessons, you sell them, you keep the cash. And people out there will do that. And that's how you get other people marketing for you. You can also take the same concept and go to a local card shop. Again, not Clinton's or Hallmark, because they won't do it. It's got to be a local independent. It might be in a local high street. It might be in your market. And when they see somebody buying a birthday card that says, today you're 17 or 18, so especially 17, big poster next to it, why can't they buy a driving lesson voucher at the same time? So get other people out there to sell your vouchers for you. Put all the terms and conditions on the back. It's a driving lesson. Boom, you've got a bum on a seat.
Yeah, good idea. Well, David, thank you for talking to us. I'm hoping that
you're welcome.
Our, PDIs and our members took a lot from that. We've decided, obviously, to split this into 2, so we'll set a date for the second part. I did have the fear that we'll never get everything in, to be honest. So I hope everyone has appreciated it. I noticed that pretty much everyone's still here that joined at 8 o'clock, so that's brilliant. And thanks for putting up my croaky voice and coughing, everyone.
Oh, you've done really well, Adam. Thanks very much for inviting me. And for everybody, again, the Driving Instructors Business Summit, I'm putting the link up there right now. It's the first 50 people who sign up through Smart Driving will get there for free. It's going to pay for your petrol, right? It is going to be a fantastic day. Whether you're an experienced ADI looking for that next level, or whether you're a PDI really wanting to hit the ground running in a franchise or going solo, do it. Get to the summit, speak to me, speak to Adam, speak to the trade stands. These are not trade stands who are just going to sit there twiddling their thumbs wanting to sell you a dash cam. All the trade stands are being carefully selected so you can interact with them, so they can help you with your business goal. And all the speakers have got trade stands as well, so you can meet them. So make sure you get there, and if you don't, Adam's going to come around and hurt you.
And just one last point, if you've been on this webinar or you're listening to it later and you come to the summit and you buy one of our products, we'll buy your ticket to the summit. So,
there is one important thing actually. If you're watching this as a recording, you won't have the chat box on the side. So this is drivinginstructorsbusinesssummit.co.uk/smart-driving. Thank you, Adam, for allowing me to join in with your tribe.
Great.
They're a nice bunch, aren't they? Some good questions.
Thank you very much for all the comments, everyone. And we'll speak to you soon, and we'll have an email coming out probably tomorrow, sometime in the afternoon, I would suspect, as to when we'll do the second part of this.
Lovely. I'm going to end the meeting now. That'll create a link for me, so I'm going to send a copy to all the registrants tomorrow.
Bye-bye, mate.
Have a good night, Adam. Up the
Bye-bye.
borough, up the forest. Take care.